Are you looking for better shooting experience? How about a facility where you can shoot all of your firearms in the same day, where you can move and shoot steel, draw from the holster, and practice your rifle work up to 600 yards? Shoot a very challenging sporting clays course or a round of trap or skeet. You can do all that and much more at the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Hi, I'm David Lombardo, president of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you love the outdoors, you'll want to know all about Northern Illinois' largest outdoor shooting facility, the Aurora Sportsman's Club. If you're a novice looking for a basic course, an experienced shooter looking for an advanced course, or perhaps you want to participate in your favorite shooting event, or just spend an enjoyable day with the family, the Aurora Sportsman's Club is the only shooting facility in the region that offers all that and more. Interested? Then you won't want to miss the next orientation and tour of the Aurora Sportsman's Club. Call, email, or visit our website today to find out how you can become part of a better shooting experience at the Aurora Sportsman's Club in Waterman, Illinois.
He's the human Molotov cocktail that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them.
So we're going to create a new government that serves you, your family, and your country.
It's time for On Target Radio, Chicagoland's only radio show dedicated to the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech. Now, debating, debunking, and discussing today's hot issues, here are your hosts, David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz.
Welcome to On Target Radio. Tonight, David's rant of the week is, who is more evil, the shooter or the liberal? With David and Gretchen talking about the intense push to ban more guns. Then, we'll look at the high cost of sexual harassment in the latest rendition of liberal hypocrisy. Sexual harassment should preclude a conservative from public life, but not a liberal. All that and more on tonight's On Target Radio. So give us a call at 815-205-1584. That's 815-205-1584. Or go to Facebook, like our page On Target Radio, and ask a question or make a comment there.
And now, from the seething cauldron of personal opinion, it's time for David's Rant of the Week.
I belong to a group I call the Cognoscenti. It's a bunch of old gray-hair guys. Well, the more fortunate of us are anyway. One is a longtime conservative book publisher. Another has been counselor to presidents. Another spent almost 30 years as a prosecutor in Chicago's crime-ridden Cook County. Well, you get the idea. We're a group of old guys who have reached that point in our lives where our pores ooze gravitas rather than testosterone. The Cognoscenti regularly exchanges group emails commenting on the news. Several in the group are shooters, pretty damn experienced shooters, truth be told. All are strict constitutionalists and strong Second Amendment supporters. So it was natural that bump stocks would eventually come up after the Las Vegas shooting. One of the group made the comment that the bump stock probably saved lives, to which one of the non-shooters balked. It's the same thing as an automatic weapon which has been regulated for decades. It slaughtered innocent people, and there's no logical reason to not ban them from public use, he wrote. Try as we may, we couldn't dissuade him from thinking a full-auto rifle, much less a bump stock rifle, is less accurate than the one-shot, one-kill philosophy. Unfortunately, not only do I see the same mistaken belief all over social media, which is bad enough, but also by the media itself and the politicos. Ronald Reagan once quipped, "It isn't so much that liberals are ignorant, it's just that they know so many things that aren't so." Well, liberals are at it again. Now they want to ban bump stocks because the Las Vegas shooter used one. Well, he also wore shoes, but we're not talking about banning them yet. So let's set the record straight. While I have seen a handful of shooters who had pretty good control of an automatic rifle, beyond them, there are very limited uses for even a full auto rifle at long distance. I know it's counterintuitive, but if a full auto firearm were more effective than aiming one shot at a time for long distance shooting, every infantryman, every SWAT team member would be shooting full auto all of the time, but they're not. One of the prime reasons for full auto is suppressing fire. When you're pinned down and trying to tactically redeploy to a superior position, the rifleman goes full auto in the direction of the bad guys, while his partner runs like hell to the agreed-upon new position. When full auto rings out, the bad guy has no idea where the rounds are going to hit, so he ducks, thus providing a window of opportunity to redeploy. That's it. You go through a lot of ammo in a few seconds, and precious few rounds actually hit anything important. Full auto is commonly, though not always, difficult to control, and muzzle rise is one of the problems. On the other hand, a qualified rifle shooter with a .308 bolt-action rifle will fire one accurate shot about every 1 1/4 seconds. Now, just think about that. It's reasonably 48 lethal shots a minute in a target-rich environment. But for the sake of argument, let's factor in some time for reloading and say it's only 40 per minute using a magazine-fed rifle. Stephen Paddock, the Las Vegas shooter, was at a highly advantageous position from the concert area. We can deduce by a simple calculation. He was on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel, which is approximately 320 feet above ground level. The distance from the base of the hotel to the perimeter of the concert area is 1,050 feet, as reported by the Los Angeles Times. Those two distances form a right triangle with a calculated hypotenuse of about 1,098 feet, or 366 yards. For a rifle shooter, 366 yards is nothing. It's no big deal. I have hundreds of rifle shooters at my club who can very reliably hit targets at that distance. Paddock used rifles with bump stocks, which produced a rate of fire similar to full auto. Rather than picking one target at a time, resorted to what we called in the Army spray and pray, or indiscriminately shooting into the crowd and hoping to hit as many people as possible. Not to minimize the horror of what he did, but all things considered, given the circumstances, he wasn't very effective, which the math bears out. Paddock was actively shooting about 15 minutes, killing 58 and wounding 500, many of whom were not seriously wounded. During that same period of time, a trained rifleman aiming every shot could have about 600 lethal hits as versus 58. The liberal reaction is, of course, more gun control and particularly the banning of bump stocks. Never mind that they've been around about 10 years and have not factored into any other mass shootings I'm aware of. And never mind, once again, we're blaming an inanimate object for the evil of one man. Liberalism's preferred response always goes to taking away the rights of law-abiding John Q. Public for the common good, even though it will have no effect on what evil people will do. In this particular case, having a personal defense firearm probably wouldn't have had much effect. But this scenario is very rare. The overwhelming majority of active shooter situations puts the shooter in the mix with the victims, where an armed individual could make a difference, but is of little consequence to the anti-gun liberal. It makes one wonder, who is more evil in all this? The shooter that takes innocent life, or the liberal who would prefer the innocents lack the ability to defend themselves from the shooter? And that, Gretchen, is my rant for this week.
It doesn't matter what happens. It just seems like, oh, the liberals would prefer it if, Stephen Paddock killed 58 people with a U-Haul truck, with a rented truck instead of with a gun. I mean, I fail to see the difference between killing a bunch of people with a truck by running it into a crowd or shooting into a crowd. It's the same thing.
You're killing people. We don't ban trucks.
As you said, it's because of the evil and the hate in your heart. It's not because of an inanimate object. The gun doesn't shoot on its own. The truck doesn't drive into the crowd on its own. I don't understand why the liberals don't see the moral equivalency of that.
My money says they do, and they just ignore it. They ignore it.
And then there's that.
I mean, because in all fairness, we excoriate liberals with regularity. But that doesn't, they're intelligent people. They're intelligent liberals just like they're intelligent conservatives, and they're stupid ones just like they're stupid Republicans. But the point is, it continuously is this drumbeat of disarming the population. And they will step over people's bodies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to get out in front of a camera and go, wow, we need more. They had a knifing. Somebody was killed with a knife last month, and the first subject that came up was, we got to ban guns.
I know.
Where's the logic of that? You know? And Biden goes on the air and said, first of all, why is Biden going on the air?
He wrote a book.
In English?
It's a bookstore. Yeah.
Is it something you can actually read?
Apparently. I mean, I haven't seen it. Of course, I don't own it.
What's on the cover? Two groping hands?
Yeah, it's like this.
How I groped my way.
Tight shot of.
How I groped my way through the vice presidency.
Tight shot of creepy Uncle Joe's hands on somebody's boobs. Yeah.
Talk about a party that has no place on the high road.
Hillary wrote what happened. Joe Biden probably wrote what didn't happen.
Biden said of a shooter, well, this was the guy at that church. Remember, he lived across the street or whatever. He said, well, that guy really shouldn't have that gun.
Oh, yeah, I saw that headline. I'm like, what?
Here's a guy who stops a killer.
He's generally considered to be a hero.
Exactly. Legal possession of the firearm.
And he was barefoot, too.
Exactly.
Like, he didn't even bother to put shoes on before he went after this guy.
And Biden says he shouldn't have the gun to begin with. You know, I mean, what do you even say about people like this? This has led to, you know, there's been an onslaught across the country, here in Illinois, every state, or most states, if not every state, and in Congress about, well, I got to have more gun laws, got to have more gun laws. You know, typically the liberals. But what's a little bit disconcerting is there's been some traction on both sides of the aisle on some issues. Bump stocks was one of them, but it seems like that's cooled off now.
Yeah, it seems like that's kind of fallen away.
Now, one thing that there is a bipartisan
and
thing.
I had heard that initially the NRA was willing to, you know, to let that one go.
What the NRA did was very clever.
As they usually are.
It was a very clever thing. And similar was done here in Illinois. We're going to have to take a break. When we come back, remind me, because I probably don't remember.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, because there's actually a very, very clever thing that they did. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more when we return with more on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
Do you dread writing? Is it challenging to find just the right words to get your point across? Do you put off developing marketing materials because you just don't know where to start? You get one chance to make a first impression, and my editor, Creative Business Services, can help make it a strong, positive one. Hi, this is Gretchen Fritz, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to tell you about My Editor, a business I started to help you overcome those concerns. What you're experiencing is very common. My Editor has helped business owners, candidates for political office, and even authors and public speakers. At My Editor Creative Business Services, we can simply edit your existing work or help you develop an entire writing plan of action from initial project design through final copy. We are easy to work with and will help you get your point across in the most effective manner. If words escape you, send me an email at myeditor@mail.com. Use My Editor Creative Business Services and go to print with confidence. That's myeditor@mail.com or find us on Facebook.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
So this whole bump stock thing is some of the cleverest politics I've ever seen have centered around this bump stock thing, both in Congress and here in Illinois. What the NRA said, the people are going, well, the NRA said, they ought to be banned. The NRA never said that. That is not what they said. They positioned themselves perfectly. They were in a no-lose position. So what they said was this. Well, yes, it does make the gun shoot faster, and maybe ATF should take another look at it. That's it. That's what they said.
Oh, right, yeah, remember.
Now, here's what they know for a fact when they say that. The mandate written in the law would forbid ATF from banning it because it has nothing to do with the action of the gun.
Right.
Their control is over the actual action, not the stock.
Right, it has no actual function.
Exactly. It's a part, but it's not a movie. It's not a part of the action, right?
Right.
It's not serial numbered. Mm-hmm. So they say, well, you know what? It does make the gun shoot faster. Obama's administration approved it, but maybe the ATF should take another look, knowing full well that the ATF's mission or their statement doesn't allow them to ban it.
Sure.
Now, here in Illinois, and this just goes to show you one of the drawbacks to the internet, because there's all these people on the internet talking about how the ISRA sold out shooters because they don't understand crap about politics. The ISRA, and one of the things I wrote on online, and one of these things on Facebook where they were having this discussion, I said is, you don't pay lobbyists to make you feel good. You pay them to stop bad legislation. Mm-hmm. So what they did was this, and I don't remember the bill numbers, but a bill was introduced by, what's his name, Moylan, whatever, up in Des Plaines. Mm-hmm. And it would have eliminated not only bump stocks, but a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, there was a whole bunch of really
it was a terrible
guns.
bill.
Yeah.
A terrible bill. Yeah. It would have half wiped out gun ownership in Illinois. Now, a lot of Democrats didn't like that bill. But if that was the only game in town, how would they justify to Madigan, who basically pays for them to get reelected every time?
Yes.
How would they justify they weren't voting for an anti-gun bill?
Sure.
ISRA got what's her name? I don't remember, but got her name, and they came up with ban bump stocks. Period. That's basically what the bill was.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing: 23 Democrats were able to bail from the original bill, saying we'll sign out. We want to get rid of them too. We just don't like the original bill. It makes honest people immediately illegal.
Criminals.
Right, criminals. But we'll sign this one. The ISRA. See, look, the ISRA's back. We'll sign this. We'll sign that.
Sure.
Knowing full well no Republican bill ever gets out of Rules Committee.
Sure.
It's never, ever
like
going to see the light of day.
Classic bait and switch.
Exactly. It gave them a place to run and hide. 23 Democrats ran and hid, knowing full well that bill would never come out of the Rules Committee because Madigan never lets Republican bills out of rules. It was a beautiful ploy. It worked exactly the way it was supposed to work. And now you got people on the internet going, well, ISRA sold us out. That's bull.
Right.
They saved your butt is what they did.
Right. They're playing the game to win. That's what they do.
And that's what they do.
And they're good at it. I mean, just
Absolutely.
like you're saying about the NRA. I think it's also interesting, too, that, instead of the NRA saying, oh, well, we would look at any congressional efforts to ban bump stocks, we would look at the individual piece of legislation. Instead of even, like, giving a wink to Congress, they go, I'll send it to the ATF where they know it will die.
Exactly.
And so they don't have to worry about the congressional piece by just, sending it back to the ATF and like thumbing their nose at the Obama administration.
One of the interesting things, since I've gotten to be pretty good friends with Todd, you begin to pick up how, look, politicians are pretty clever people.
Well, and by that measure, I don't belong there because I am endlessly fascinated by this strategy that is used in these type of voting strategy. I mean, I know, I won't say his name, but I know somebody who is always I think he's read books about it, but he's always telling me stuff about, election strategy. And it's fascinating to me. I find it incredibly fascinating. And I am certainly one of, like, the lesser people who, like, understands these things. And people have to tell me stuff, and I go, okay,
Well, I think, in all fairness, the county board, you don't really deal typically with these really draconian, you know what I mean? I mean, it's not that there isn't big money involved and stuff, but it's...
well, it's not so much those type of, like, lobbyist type situations. I'm talking about, like, actual, like, election strategy. Like, like the whole vote splitting thing that they talk about, how, like, on county board, in this county, on county board, there's 2 for each district. So you've got 2 Republicans running against 2 Democrats, typically. Yeah. Well, people who like to pat themselves on the back because they're so open-minded, they typically will split their vote between 1 Republican and 1 Democrat. So it's
zeros it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's no effect, basically. Yeah. So if there's 1 against 2, then that 1 gets all those split votes, and it actually nets them quite a lot of votes, and they often have a very good chance of winning against the 2 that are splitting all the rest of the votes. Yeah. So, that had to be explained to me because I never had heard of it.
It's a devious...
It's those types of things.
It's a devious game that they play. If you have any thoughts, give us a call, 815-205-1584. Here's something that I've long thought was a good thing to do. There are some questions now that are raised in my mind, but this bipartisan background check bill. The guy who shot up the
church.
Yeah, the church should never have gotten a gun. We're talking about a nutball.
Right. He had been dishonorably discharged from the Air Force, and there had been some violence and things like that. So, according to the Air Force, he was not allowed to own a firearm, but the Air Force never bothered to report that to the state of Texas.
And see, that's been the problem with the NICS check. I really don't personally have a problem with having a background check. But the problem is the people who you most want on that list, there's not really a good mechanism. And it's people who are mentally adjudicated, mentally ill, people who are problematic. And I've always said, they just, if you're a nutball, there's some things you just shouldn't be able to do, and there's got to be a way to report it. But this article that was written by a guy named Gary Beatty really does raise some interesting questions that I just haven't given a lot of thought to. First of all, who decides?
Sure.
My doctoral work was counseling, and the truth is, it's a bunch of crap.
It's a crapshoot,
Yeah, it really is. One of my professors, who I like very much, Cecil Patterson, had written a book, and I still have it. It's called Relationship Counseling and Psychotherapy. And basically what he did is he looked at all, this is back, in the 60s and 70s, he looked at all, and there was some really wild one, Primal Scream and all this kind of stuff, And he looked at all these things and he goes, here's the thing, the success or failure of any one of them relies on the relationship between a therapist and a client. It really doesn't have much to do with the rest of this crap. It's a valid question. Who gets to decide that?
Yes.
And where's the line? If you have PTSD, does that mean you shouldn't own a gun?
Well, and that's like a lot of other things. It's a continuum. It's a spectrum. It's not black and white. Of PTSD makes you do this, and if you don't have it, then you do this. I mean, it's not a black and white thing. And he actually says something that you say all the time, that he says he was a prosecutor for 30 years, and he says you can hire an accredited mental health expert to testify under oath to any conclusion you need.
I, of course, don't do that. I'm black and white, but, but it's true. And I always joke about the guy who the 2 attorneys were fighting like rabid dogs, and then as we're walking out the door, they both hit the door at the same time, and they go, "You want to go to lunch?" I mean, they're all friends. It's showtime, And I did say it to him. we were laughing, but he goes, as soon as you started saying what you said, I knew I'd lost my case, and I responded with, if you'd have paid me more money, I'd have won it for you. And not by lying or cheating, just selectively pick fact. So I guess it is a serious question. And domestic violence is another thing. You know, domestic violence conviction, that's it, you're done.
Oh, that's a total deal breaker.
You're done.
Yeah.
But what is that really? What constitutes domestic violence?
Well, and it's happened to many people, especially police officers are
After the Homeland
subject to
Security Act.
this,
Yeah.
right? Are subject to, you know, a girlfriend, a soon-to-be ex-wife, that type of thing, accusing them of doing something that they didn't actually do, because they know it will. If they get their guns taken away, it literally will end their police career.
Yeah, and we know that's happened. We know that's happened. You know.
So yeah, I mean, there's a burden of proof question. You know, he also raises the question of, you know, how long does it last? If you can't have a gun because of some reason, is that forever, or is that for a period of time? You know, and how do we decide that? I like this thing that he says. He says conclusions backed up by objective standards on which experts on both sides agree are rare. I mean,
yeah.
you're going to have very, very few situations where you're going to get, you know, a psychiatrist for the defense and a psychiatrist for the prosecution who actually come to the same conclusion and go, yeah, this person is a danger to themselves and others.
Yeah, we, you know, I joke about that first-degree murder case that I was on not long ago, but it's not that it's funny, but we kind of chuckled because, you know, we'd be having conferences, the attorneys and I'd be having conferences, and one of us would invariably look up and go, but he's not going home. I mean, everybody agrees, the prosecutor, everybody agrees, he's not going home.
Right.
The question is, you know, can we shave a little off the far end?
How much can we minimize this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, dying in jail, could we get him out when he's 90 or something like that? So he could have some sort of thought chip implanted in his brain by then. But it is kind of rare that everybody agrees. Well, it's like the guy that the murder case that got put off till January. I truly believe the guy said it was negligence. I mean, I'm sure there was no intent, and that is a rare thing to say in a criminal trial because most of the time you look at him and you go, yeah, that is
some level of intent usually.
Yeah. So it is a good question. I mean, who actually does get to choose that? Mm-hmm. We got somebody coming in. Oh.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. What does it say?
We've only got a minute, though.
We only have a minute, right?
We picked them up, so they're on.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, Dave and Gretchen. And
you're going to have to wait. We're about to take a break. Just can you hang on the phone and we'll pick you up when we come back?
Oh, absolutely. I got 3 points I want to bring up for y'all to think about.
Okay, write them down so you don't forget. We'll be gone for how long is this break? 3 weeks? I don't know.
This one's only a minute.
A minute. We'll be back in about a minute and a half. Okay? Just hang on. So when we come back, we'll take the call, but also they're going to hear, court's going to hear the case against Newtown, trying to blame the manufacturer for something that the person who legally buys it did. So we'll take a look at that when we return. That and a whole bunch of other stuff when we return with more on Target Radio.
Hi, I'm David Lombardo, co-host of On Target Radio, and I'd like to offer you a partnership opportunity. For over 4 years, On Target Radio covered the red meat issues that affect your life, from gun control to freedom of speech on AM 560 The Answer. But a 1-minute commercial was $200, making it tough to find enough sponsors. So last November, we left AM 560 and began podcasting. There's a learning curve to podcasting, and we've worked through the kinks and would now like to make you an offer. You can have a 60-second audio or video commercial for as little as $25 a week. We can also offer fellow conservatives their own radio or video podcast for as little as $100 a week with equipment and technical personnel included. You provide the content and host, plus get 6 free minutes of commercial time you can sell yourself. If you'd like to be an On Target Radio sponsor or explore the possibility of having your own show, call me at 815-741-3474 and let's explore the possibilities together.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life.
This segment is brought to you by the Will County Grassroots Division of the Illinois State Rifle Association. Join us at 7 p.m. Wednesday, December 20th at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois. December is Show and Tell, with guests bringing their favorite firearm or shooting-related piece of equipment and giving a brief talk about it. You'll find the newest gear, as well as very old military firearms with interesting histories and stories. Come join us and bring your favorite toy to show off. Just be sure it's unloaded and bring an empty chamber flag to go along with it. Join us Wednesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. at the Silver Dollar Restaurant in Elwood, Illinois.
Did you cold read that? Had you seen it before?
I read it this before the show.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure. I snuck it in.
I cheated a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool. So we have a caller on the line. Hi, what's your name?
It's Jeff from Berwyn.
Ah, Jeff from Berwyn. What's your 3 points?
I'm sorry. It's been several weeks since I've listened to the show.
Okay.
So the the first point being, the quick one is, the bump stock ban is not going to happen.
I know. Yeah.
Not going to happen. And the common thread, have you ever sat down and think through what the common thread of the Vegas shooting is and the other mass shootings over the last several years?
Oh, me.
Perp has been conveniently killed by the cops.
Yeah.
Before he could be, it's like the Lee Harvey Oswald thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that it was a false flag as far as there's nobody killed. Yes, the hospitals can confirm that.
Oh, yeah. But the question is, why did it really happen?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and when Hillary comes out almost immediately and calls for defeat of the suppressor bill,
yeah,
it makes you wonder, well, wait a minute. Why would she talk about that when there was nothing even about suppressors involved here?
They got all the stuff in a can, and they're waiting for the television cameras to roll. That's literally what they're doing. Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you so much.
I mean, you remember that we said this in the last segment. You remember there was a knifing. There was this guy went berserk with a knife just last month, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought it was longer ago than that, but yeah, there was one not that long
And
ago.
liberals' response to a knifing is they need more gun control. You remember that?
I missed that, but I'm going to say this: the height, the perigee or whatever of gun control happened in 1994 with the assault weapons ban.
Yep.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's been downhill ever since for these people that want to grab everybody's guns, and now they're getting so desperate they don't know what to do, and they're grasping at straws to say, "Oh wait, this guy used a knife. We got to ban guns." So, so we just got to keep our cool and our collectiveness, and just say, "Okay, yeah, all right, go ahead." So whatever. So, folks, don't get discouraged by these mass shootings because, yes, Vegas was a false flag. People were killed and whatever, but it's not some guy, a 64-year-old multimillionaire who had really no beef against anybody, happens to all go off the edge and have 200 guns in his Las Vegas hotel. Come on, man, that's a stretch. That's like a movie. That's like a movie plot.
Yeah,
Something's wrong here.
After all these years of watching this stuff really closely, 5-6 years ago, I would have said anyone that thinks the way I think now is a conspiracy nut job. But you know what? These things are awful convenient.
I'm starting to come up with my own theories.
They're using the same playbook over and over.
Yeah, they are.
Some guy busts into a nightclub and kills how many other people, and then the SWAT team comes and shuts the place down for 3 hours. I mean, there's something. San Bernardino, Sandy Hook. All these perps are killed before there's an investigation. Yeah. And when you have overwhelming force, SWATs or whatever, you can neutralize the subject without killing him.
They can beanbag him. Literally beanbag him.
Whatever, gas him or whatever. Yeah. But, dead men tell no tale.
Sadly, I must say that I agree with you, and I I've never been a conspiracy theorist, but it's too convenient.
I'm not even saying.
Oh, I am.
Oh, yeah, I am.
I am saying that.
I heard one person say, the last couple of attacks, like the Orlando nightclub, the church shooting, Las Vegas, all of the perpetrators had they were government workers, essentially. So they were on the government's radar. If they were looking to recruit somebody to do something stupid, they already knew who these people were.
And who was this recent one? The one guy, young guy. He had talked to the CIA. The CIA was looking to recruit him the year before he killed these people.
I think that was Orlando. Oh, I thought it was Orlando.
Was that Orlando? I can't remember which one it was. But they didn't just know who he was.
Right.
They were talking about he's got a future in the CIA and all this. What?
Right.
Oh, there's no government connection.
No,
it can't be possible.
Well, what I don't understand is why is certain government? I'm not. What is a reason a certain government dark ops operation doing this? What is the point?
Gun control.
I don't understand what the point is doing.
I think we'll leave you to ponder that.
I think it's gun control.
We'll keep on. Well, but gun
Gretchen,
control.
I agree with you. I think it's a sophisticated gun control thing. When Hillary came out within hours after this thing in Vegas, and she said, "Well, they want to legalize suppressors." Well, there was no suppressors involved.
No.
That tells you something.
So, FYI, the knife attack, it was actually a car/knife attack. It was almost a year ago.
There you go.
It was November 2016.
All right, we're going to keep on moving forward. Thanks for calling. But the gun control isn't the point. It's just, it's a speed bump in the way of doing what they're trying to do.
Well, right. It was part of the agenda.
Right.
It's one of the things that they haven't been able to
Agenda
accomplish.
21 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I would say that and completely getting rid of religion and Christians.
Sure.
Those are the two things that have really prevented them from completely taking over.
I think you're right. They have dehumanized humans.
Yes.
It's okay to kill unborn children. I mean, all this stuff is dehumanization because they don't like people thinking there's a higher authority that they have to answer to.
Right.
And that's really where it's going. The whole thing about the Newtown thing, they're going before the Connecticut Supreme Court. They're going to argue that the manufacturer, which was Remington, should be held accountable for it. Why is it only with guns? When people, all these guys now, the new twist du jour is running people over.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Why aren't we suing the auto manufacturers then for people who do that?
Well, what about Big Pharma? I mean, all these high school students, college students are all addicted to pharmaceuticals. Why are we not going after Big Pharma?
That's yet another thing. That's a good point. Now, this is my favorite little piece for this evening is this one. You remember how they consistently say, well, the founding fathers could never possibly have anticipated what's going on. By the way, there were automatic weapons during the time of the founding fathers.
Yeah.
Semi-auto, but be that as it may.
They had already seen technological advances of various kinds, but in firearms, definitely.
Yeah. So they could imagine. Maybe they don't imagine an AR-15 the way it looked, but they know that it's going, right? But here's the interesting thing. They've always said, well, the only thing the Second Amendment really does is it should apply like flintlocks and muzzle loaders.
It was for the guns that they had at the time.
Exactly. Well,
of the writing.
Now, Gabby Giffords is proposing. Well, and who is she to propose a law anyway? But Gabby Giffords is proposing that they take muzzle loaders away.
I saw that.
An assault muzzle loader. What is that with? Is that like a spring-loaded rod that you ram the bullet down the barrel with?
Right.
Just
it would almost have to be like crew served, where like there's somebody ready to like load the next round.
Ram it, bozo! I mean,
but yeah, so they used to be. This doesn't even say what they used to have some other name, but now they're just calling it Giffords, which I think is so bizarre. And
that surprises you?
Well, yeah, it does, because before they had some like innocuous sounding like milquetoast name,
Yeah.
and so that actually made sense of like lulling you to sleep with their milquetoast.
She took a hit to the head. It's, that's where this is coming from.
That's cold. I think it might be a little too soon for that. But yeah, so she, the group, but it's not her specifically. It's this nonprofit that she runs, but they came out with some new recommendations, proposals, whatever you want to call it. Bump stock should be banned because they increase the rate of fire of a semi-automatic rifle held against the shoulder. But if you dispense with the stock entirely, as in the case of AR-style pistols, that also represents a problem. They don't like that either, because now it's concealable like a handgun. Exceptionally large guns are out too. So, if it's too small, that's bad. If it's too big, that's bad. They don't like modern 50 caliber rifles for combining long range accuracy and massive firepower. But a 5-foot-long gun that weighs nearly 33 pounds and costs as much as a used car is not likely to be a tool of a common criminal. And then muzzle loaders is also 50 caliber in some cases. So that's why they don't like the muzzle loader.
And
so, this leads to this.
You can get a lot of shots off of the muzzle loader if you got, a month.
I was going to say, if you've got nothing but time.
And, maybe I'm just naive, but I haven't figured out how you would conceal a muzzle loading 50 caliber rifle. You know what I'm saying? It's just gonna. If you go into a coffee shop,
I had a guy at my house the other day who could conceal a muzzle loader. He's a very large man. He's probably well over 6 feet tall. He's probably good 6'4", 6'5", probably 300 pounds minimum.
If he was goth.
Yeah, and he was wearing a trench coat. He could totally do it. Or he could be like a pimp wearing like a fur. That would work.
We'll stop talking about that when we return with more on Target Radio.
Safer USA, Chicago's most trusted name in firearm training, is offering beginners classes, tactical pistol and rifle, long-range rifle to 600 yards, and the most comprehensive Illinois concealed carry program available. The On Target Radio co-hosts David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz will prepare you to carry a firearm for personal protection, including firearm, holster, and ammunition selection. A comprehensive law review designed to keep you out of trouble and even how to deal with home invasions. Firearm, ammunition, holster, class notebook, and lunch are provided. Safer USA and the Aurora Sportsman's Club invite you to participate in this one-of-a-kind Illinois concealed carry program that also qualifies you for Florida, Utah, and Arizona non-resident permits. Find out what over 6,000 students already know at saferusa.com.
Or call 815-741-3474. That's 815-741-3474. Safer USA. Choosing to own a firearm is your business. Teaching you to own it responsibly is ours.
In need of a ride to O'Hare or Midway Airport? Well, look no further. The Yellow Checker Cab Company is the cab company for you. With the Yellow Checker Cab Company, you will always be greeted by a friendly face and arrive safely and on time for your flight. Start your trip off right by taking advantage of one of their limos, shuttle vans, cabs, or courtesy cars. And airport trips are not all they specialize in. This 24-hour cab service will pick you up anytime, any day, for any occasion. From bachelorette parties to school dances to jet just a night out with friends. Yellow Checker Cab Company has the best rates in town. So sit back, relax, and leave the driving to the professionals. Once you experience their fast and affordable cab service, you'll be a customer for life. When it comes to cab companies, be sure to choose Yellow Checker Cab because you have the right to expect certain things from your cab company. For further information or to book your trip today, call 815-744-2900. That's 815-744-2900.
You're listening to On Target Radio with David Lombardo and Gretchen Fritz. Here's David and Gretchen with more interesting conversation on gun control, concealed carry, freedom of speech, and other red meat issues that affect your life. Stand by. Here's Gretchen with your action items for the week.
From the ISRA, the worst anti-gun legislators in Illinois are having a town hall. When it comes to gun control, no duo is more ardent about taking your guns away than Don Harmon and Kathleen Willis. They are the chief sponsors of SB 1657, a bill that would shut down most gun shops in the state. Their town hall meeting is this Tuesday, November 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Bensonville Village Hall. Be there by 5:45 to be sure to get a seat. Be prepared to vigorously defend your right to keep and bear arms. If you see the media there, approach them and tell them that you are a law-abiding firearm owner and you are sick of being blamed for the misdeeds of others. If you care about your gun rights, you will be there on Tuesday to express support for the Second Amendment. The following Safer USA classes are at our facility in Waterman. Saturday and Sunday, November 25th and 26th. NRA Rifle Instructor, taught by David. Saturday and Sunday, December 2nd and 3rd. Illinois Concealed Carry 1. This 16-hour class will be taught by David and Gretchen and meets the training requirements for Illinois Concealed Carry as well as Florida, Arizona, and Utah. To sign up for classes, go to saferusa.com and click on register.
So, Roy Moore, who, has ran for Congress, has gotten tarred and feathered about being a sexual predator.
Yeah.
Apparently, Mitch McConnell started that.
Yeah, apparently he's complicit.
Yeah. So we talk about government and being sneaky and trying to take things over, and there's a line in The Godfather, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But Michael Corleone, who has now become a Godfather, and his I forget who the actress was. Who was the actress that played? I don't remember. Anyway, he says to her, you know what, we're going legitimate. It's a business. It's just a business. And she goes, come on, Michael. He says, you kill people. And he goes, he says, look at senators. And she goes, senators don't kill people. And he says, who's being naive now? Well, the Clintons, the joke about the Clintons, as you well know, is it's more dangerous to be their friend than to be their enemy. They got the list of people who've committed suicide with an open suitcase on their bed packing to take a vacation, and they're found in some park somewhere dead with a bullet wound to the head.
Out on some deserted road somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think I'll go on vacation after I kill myself on a deserted road somewhere in a parking lot. Yeah.
And how did they get there?
Yeah, exactly. So, it's interesting that Roy Moore is saying, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. I'm sticking. I'm gonna keep on doing this. But it's interesting because that sexual harassment thing, that whole thing that got started, opened up a gigantic gaping sore in the Democratic Party, which I think is just hysterical. I don't think it about the poor people who were involved, but I've never liked Al Franken. I didn't think he was funny. I've never liked him. He's a sour, negative person, and this is like great.
He's a negative person, but yet he had positive thoughts on Saturday Night Live.
Exactly. And by the way, one of these women testified, and we now know why his Saturday Night Live name was Smalley. But I'm not going down that road. But I'm just pointing out that so he's groped people. He scripted a scene for a USO tour that he was on with a woman, and it included a kiss, which they had to, of course, rehearse.
He insisted they rehearse it.
They rehearse it, yes. And then it was like, the old tongue ramming job thing,
yeah.
Which is bad enough. But then, while she's asleep, he's grabbing her boobs. Now, she was wearing
somebody took a picture.
Body armor, but that's the payoff is it's pretty hard to say he didn't do it when there's a photo of him doing it.
Right.
Smiling.
It is pretty priceless.
Yeah. And I went back and listened to, you can find the roast, when they roasted, not Rob Reiner, that's the father. What's the son's name?
Carl Reiner. Oh, no.
Carl
Reiner's
Reiner's father.
the
Carl's
father.
father, right.
Rob is the son.
When they roasted Rob Reiner, this guy, Franken's thing, is really pretty disgusting.
Oh, well, that's what roasts are. I mean, that's like the definition.
Yes, but this is like, you make fun of people, right? You say disgusting things about it. But they're talking about how Rob Reiner would invite people over to rape, how Carl Reiner would invite people over to rape Rob when he was a little boy.
Okay, that's not.
No,
yeah.
it's
That's beyond.
There's a difference between gross and vulgar and stupid and
repulsive.
Yeah, and repulsive. And if you look, they pan and they show Rob's face, and he doesn't even know how to react to it.
Right.
He's very uncomfortable.
You wouldn't. Yeah.
He's very uncomfortable with it. And that's who this guy is. It's just interesting. It's interesting that this comes to surface from a guy who on numerous occasions, has chastised conservatives and people in general for being sexual predators. Mm-hmm. It's very interesting that this guy is the guy. He's gone on television and he's talked about people. I was just looking for some of these things that are in here somewhere. But
in January, he tweeted, "The GOP is showing that they don't respect women's freedom." Just last month, he tweeted, "Sexual harassment and violence are unacceptable."
So he's been very. If he were guiltless, you would say, well, he's out front,
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing he's out front of is himself. This is the guy who takes the holier than thou art thing, and then the apology that he gave prior to being elected. He then subsequently said somewhere, "I didn't really mean that," but getting elected is a game. You have to say what people want to hear.
Well, yeah.
First of all, if you do that, you're an idiot to tell people that you've done it.
Well, right.
Which right off the bat makes you think, why is this guy in the Congress?
Right. This is one of my favorites. This is almost like what they call foreshadowing in literature. So when all this Harvey Weinstein stuff was swirling around, he said, "As we hear more and more about Mr. Weinstein, it is important to remember that while his behavior was appalling, it's far too common."
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has their own closets. Everybody does something from somewhere in their life that they're not proud of. But if you're going to take the moral high road, you probably shouldn't have that closet.
Right. Yeah, there probably shouldn't be photos.
Yeah. It's because this stuff today, in the day and age today, between social media and staggering access to information and FOIA,
and
where you can actually get information.
Everybody has a video camera in their pocket.
You would just think, if you're going to do stupid stuff, you probably just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
But to trumpet about other people just makes this delicious.
Yeah, it's like, if you're going to do stupid stuff in this day and age, you better be in your own house with the doors closed and the drapes drawn.
What I found interesting is, while people have been calling for him to resign, he's going, no, but over Thanksgiving, I'm going to reflect.
Oh, I thought he said like they were talking about like some congressional ethics committee or whatever. He goes, "You should investigate me." I'm pretty sure I heard that. I was like,
well, there you go. That's a moment of lucidity. Now, what does kind of disturb me is apparently Ben Affleck is got problems. And last week I said this, and I really feel this. What's his name on where he's a senator? He was in Usual Suspects. It's Kevin Spacey.
"Oh, Spacey."
That really bothered me a lot because I don't care what he does in his personal life, but that bothered me a lot. That basically they're running away from him. He's a great actor. Kevin Spacey's a great actor.
Yeah.
And I find that very, very disturbing. If he's going to, I don't care that he's gay, although I don't think anybody would have guessed that, but I don't really care if he's gay. I don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
And I have no reason to know about it. He's an actor, okay? If he gets up and he does what he's supposed to do for a living, I don't give a crap what he does in his spare time. He's not hurting somebody, which apparently he was. But very disturbing. And now apparently Ben Affleck is just like Weinstein and this turd in that he sexually harasses because he's got the power to do it. He has the power. When you're on a set and you are the A star, man, whatever you want.
Right.
And they know this. You can't say they don't know this is going on. You can't have workers on a set can be sexually harassed and nobody notices.
You know, I have to be honest, and I should find the exact quote, but I didn't know that we were going to get to this. But I really like what Louis C.K. said because there was
another one.
Right. There were some women who said he did this and that and the other to me, and they're very much like lower in grade than some of these other ones. I mean, it's certainly not rape. It's certainly not on the order of rape. But I liked what he said because what he said was even asking someone that when you have fame, when you're a famous person and the person that you're talking to is not a famous person, you're putting them in a position that it's untenable. I mean, there's almost no way that they can say no to you. And, that men, famous men, powerful men, over the decades, hundreds of years probably, have wanted to think and believe that, well, that's always your choice, is to say no. Well, is it really?
I don't know that men can appreciate that.
Well, but that's what I mean. Is I really appreciated what he said because I felt like it was really self-knowing. I mean, I felt it was really much more enlightened than a lot of what these people have said. I mean, like everybody has criticized Spacey for saying like, oh yeah, I'm really sorry I did that, and I didn't, maybe I didn't realize how young he was, and oh, by the way, I'm gay.
I mean, that is just
everybody.
Really,
I mean, he has just been like patently criticized for that, and I totally get that. Like trying to whitewash it with and by the way, I'm going to come out of the closet and that's going to make it okay.
And I'm going to blame it on that. That
right.
Like I said last week, nobody cared that he was gay, but that he would take that and sexual predator.
Well, right.
In Hollywood,
exactly.
nobody cares about that either.
Exactly. It's almost like a fine line in certain circles between like gay, pedophile, gay, pedophile.
It was taking those two and marrying them up that did him in.
Right.
Really.
That just like
that was unforgivable.
Made everybody lose their minds. Yeah.
It's and this is not a justification by any stretch, but I remember, up until the probably 70s, the Great Sexual Revolution, men were different about women. And I'm not suggesting that it was a good thing, but I'm just saying that, men patted women on the butt, and they, what I'm saying? The girls this, the girls that. Mm-hmm. And they got away with that stuff because no one would openly object to it. I'm sure women didn't like it when you look at it retrospectively, but it's what it was.
It made sense. I mean, when you look at it in the the context of history, it makes sense that there was a period when women basically weren't in the workplace.
Right.
And then after the men came home from the war, they wanted to stay in the workplace.
Yeah.
And so they had to put up with some crap.
Anyway, we got to go away now.
Yep.
Well, welcome. Wrong side. Smooth move. Okay, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen tonight. And we'd appreciate it if you tell your friends about On Target Radio.
We'd also like to thank our engineer, Eric Allen, and our sponsors, the Will County chapter of the Illinois State Rifle Association, Yellow Checker of Joliet, my editor, Creative Business Services, the Aurora Sportsman's Club, and Safer USA.
And finally, we hope you'll listen next week when we'll be covering more red meat issues that affect your life.